It all started as Senator Rand Paul joined The View to discuss his new book, The Case Against Socialism. But it didn't take long for things to spiral. The hosts, led by Whoopi Goldberg, were ready to challenge him on everything, from foreign policy to his stance on socialism. From the very first question, it was clear they weren't looking for answers. They were looking for a fight. And Rand Paul? He was more than ready to deliver.
Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
We may end up being in a bigger war.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt.
We have massive taxes here, but we don't get any free stuff. We don't have free health care. Well, our public education system is a problem.
Look out, the case against socialism. You know, Bernie Sanders is no longer alone on the debate stage. It seems like we're hearing more and more about socialism. In fact, 43% of Americans think it's a good thing. You are on the complete other end of that. Tell us about this book.
Well, one of the things we learned in writing the book is a lot of people say, well, we're not for Stalin, we're not for Hitler, we're for Scandinavia. So as we were researching the book, we actually found that Bernie Sanders' form of socialism actually is unpopular, and he would never get elected to anything in Denmark. In fact, the Prime Minister of Denmark, when he heard Bernie was going around saying they were socialists, says, no, we're not socialists. We have private property, a stock exchange, we have low corporate income taxes, we don't have a minimum wage. And the big difference, and this is where the big lie comes from, Bernie says we're going to give you all this free stuff, but we're only going to tax the rich people. In Scandinavia, they tax the working class, 25% sales tax, and an income tax starting at $60,000 is 60%. So really the difference between their country and our country is they do have more free stuff in Scandinavia, but they pay for it with massive taxes on the working class and the middle class.
Because I live in Miami. There's tens of thousands of Venezuelan exiles living there. You talk a lot about Venezuela in your new book. I get a lot of political ads from the Republican Party. Donald Trump has tweeted this. Many have tweeted this. If you vote for Democrats, they will turn the United States into Venezuela. Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
Well, if you vote for a socialist, you might get socialism.
Come on, don't do that. Maduro is not a socialist. He's a corrupt, murderous thug who is starving his people.
That's not true.
That's not true? Maduro's not a thug and a murderer who's starving his people.
Well, let's have a conversation here. Chavez was a socialist, and socialism was the economic system of Venezuela.
It's a kleptocracy. It's not socialism.
But here's the question is, they voted for socialism. They voted for, let me finish.
No, I can't let you finish. If you're going to say Maduro's not a murderous thug, I'm not letting you finish. Because that's a damn lie. And I've got a bunch of neighbors and friends who know this. Don't do this to me. Don't mansplain. I'm a 47-year-old girl.
One of the things I've always supported about President Trump is actually one of the things I liked about President Obama, that we said we were overextended, that the Iraq War was a mistake. I think it's one of the reasons President Obama beat Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton had supported the Iraq War. I still think the Iraq War, regime change in the Middle East, and these wars are senseless. So does President Trump. He doesn't want to get us involved in another Iraq War in Syria. If anything, Syria is more complicated. The other is a practical concern. You have 50 soldiers. They're talking about moving 50 soldiers. Who goes to war with 50 soldiers? You have 50 soldiers and tens of thousands of Turkish troops amassing. The Turks are also allies. The Free Syrian Army were our allies for 7 years. They're allied with the Turks. The Kurds have been our allies. The Kurds, in all likelihood, are now going to be allies of Assad to try to carve out a place in Syria for themselves. It's a really complicated question. I guess from my perspective, I say, any of these people out here, their kids have to go to war. War's not a chess game. People lose their limbs and people die, and I think it's the least we owe to kids that we're going to send into this war. Why are we going to war and who are we fighting?
Isn't there... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So, if you have allies and they are working with you and fighting with you, and 24 hours somebody wakes up and says, "No, we're out." Right. Is that the right way to do this?
I think the way we look at wars, we don't look at...
No. Is that the right way to do it?
Let me answer the question.
Okay.
When we decide whether or not we're sending our young people into harm's way, we should obey the Constitution, which says we should declare war and put them in a war theater. But let me finish.
Okay.
And here's the thing about it, is if you ask these people, Lindsey Graham and the Cheney war and all these warmongers that want to stay at war forever, who are we going to declare war on? They don't know who. We're going to declare war on Turkey, our ally.
Should we
the
ever
Free Syrian
walk
Army,
out
ally?
in the middle? It's like walking out.
You should never be there in the first place.
That's not the question. That's all good.
The system is a problem. Seems like the only people that get free stuff are the very, very wealthy.
We have a different form of taxation in our country. Ours is much more progressive. So we've taken the poor off of the rolls. They don't pay income tax anymore. Most people below $50,000 don't pay any income tax. The top 1% in our country pay 40%.
Our audience says that's not true.
Well, the IRS statistics say that the top 1% in our country pay 40% of the income tax, and that those making less than $50,000.
Donald Trump doesn't pay any income tax.
The left agreed with me for so many years. For so many years, the left agreed with me.
I am neither left nor right. I'm just American. I want to know, should we be taking, should we be walking out on
But here's the thing is, left and right have agreed in the past that regime change doesn't work. When we got rid of Hussein, we got chaos and more terrorism. When we got rid of Gaddafi, chaos and more terrorism.
But Senator, we're here now, though. But we're here.
Yeah. We're not really here. We got 50 people. We're not
here.
doing anything.
Yeah, but
frankly,
50 people is very symbolic. And that is why it kept Turkey from invading.
You tell their parents
Isn't that true?
You tell the parents of those 50 kids how great the symbolism was when a suicide bomber blows up all 50 kids.
But didn't it keep Turkey from invading?
No, I'm not.
Gave
you tell
Turkey
their parents.
The green light.
You tell their parents why they're there.
But isn't that true?
You tell their parents why they're there.
Isn't it true that Turkey did not
How do you feel about the video that we're seeing of the Kurds getting slaughtered?
I find the position of pulling out of these wars, that's a popular one, and I am there. There's a difference in having a strategy and leaving the Kurds there to die, which is where they are now. They are left there to die, and that is now, here's what I'd argue. Now it's the GOP's problem.
That's simply wrong.
ISIS fighters, as being reported, thousands are going to escape from these prisons because the Kurds can't protect
themselves.
Up to 70,000, according to a NATO official.
What's the people who don't like the policy?
Is that a safer world with ISIS running around?
That's the people who want to stay forever. These are the same people.
I don't want to stay forever, but
let me finish answering the question, okay? I let you talk, you let me talk. These are the same people. These are the same people that would still have us in Vietnam. These are the same people who always say, stay at war, stay at war, stay at war. It has not helped us. We've been in Afghanistan for 19 years. The same people complaining about this. The Cheneys, Lindsey Graham, you know what they say about Afghanistan? It would be precipitous to leave. We've been there 19 years. There's no mission, and I'm not sending one more kid.
But there's more questions.
How about the idea of breaking our word as Americans, of breaking our words to our allies, of having people who've risked their lives, who've been there for years, and what message does that send internationally to other allies if we abandon them?
I think the only duty we owe and the only oath I take is to the Constitution. I didn't promise to take the country to war. I promised not to take the country to war. So did President Trump, by the way.
But the Constitution says protecting you from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
And there's many of us who feel that this puts us in greater danger because of what it means vis-a-vis ISIS. I mean, we don't live, we're not alone on this planet.
And anybody who tries to make the argument that someone in Syria is a danger to our country is really not paying attention.
Oh, I think Assad is in Syria and is a hell of a danger to our country and our world.
Well, actually, if you look at the war is very complicated. So you had Assad on one side. On the other side, you had Sunni extremists, Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra. These are the people that have been allied with the Saudi version of Islam that has been promoting Islamism and Islamist strategy around the world and jihadism. That was the side of the war we were fighting. So if that side of the war actually won, I think we actually might be in more danger. I don't like Assad, but the other people on the other side are Sunni extremists that I don't like either.
How close is too close for Iran to be near Israel? Because this now creates a huge vacuum where Iran wants to take over Damascus, which is what they're now going to be capable of doing, and they're going to be that much closer to Israel, which is, in fact, one of our closest allies. Does that concern you at all?
I think the whole situation is so confusing that none of us are really getting this right. Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
We may end up being in a bigger war.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt. So Iran gets up against the border.
Sorry, Senator. I am interrupting because you're going to stick
and Israel.
We'll be right back.
As the segment ended, Whoopi and the other hosts looked visibly rattled. Rand Paul walked off the set unshaken, leaving behind a trail of viral moments and a shaken panel. This wasn't just another political debate. It was a masterclass in staying calm under fire and standing firm in your beliefs. Love him or hate him, Rand Paul came prepared.
In 24 hours, somebody wakes up and says, "Oh, we're out." Right. Is that the right way to do this?
I think the way we look at wars, we don't look at
No. Is that the right way to do it?
And he left victorious. What do you think about Rand Paul's points? Did he go too far? Or was he spot on? Let me know in the comments below.